So good evening and
Good evening.
Catherine, good evening. So we can begin with the session and it is okay, before we start, just hoping that we were able to ingather ourselves with the help of the chant, with the help of our breath and invoking Mother and Sri Aurobindo's grace and presence as we go through another passage today from the Sunlit path by the Mother. So it is my understanding that last week the passage that was covered was be good for the sake of being good. A few of us had missed last week's session because there was a conference in Pondicherry. So just for the sake of myself and them, we'll just go through it once and then we'll pick up the passage for today, which is the only way out. And just a reminder that the section that we are covering, a very, very important one, especially for us, is other persons and forces. Because we are always dealing with others, people, place, things, location. So it's a very, very, very important section, I feel. Very practical tips that we can get. So if anybody is willing, we'll just read this once, be good for the sake of being good, and then move to the other one.
I will read it. So all three paragraphs. Be good for the sake of being good. You must not cherish the illusion that if you want to follow the straight path, if you are modest, if you seek purity, if you are disinterested, if you want to lead a solitary existence and have a clear judgment, things will become easy. It is quite the contrary. When you begin to advance towards inner and outer perfection, the difficulties start at the same time. I have very often heard people saying, "Oh, now that I'm trying to be good, everybody seems to be bad to me." But this is precisely to teach you that one should not be good with an interested motive. One should not be good so that others will be good to you. One must be good for the sake of being good. It is always the same lesson. One must do as well as one can, the best one can, but without expecting a result, without doing it with a view to the result. Just this attitude to expect a reward for a good action, to become good because one thinks that this will make life easier, takes away all value from the good action. You must be good for the love of goodness. You must be just for the love of justice. You must be pure for the love of purity. And you must be disinterested for the love of disinterestedness. Then you are sure to advance on the way. I will read the second paragraph one more time, please. I have very often heard people saying, "Oh, now that I'm trying to be good, everybody seems to be bad to me." But this is precisely to teach you that one should not be good with an interested motive. One should not be good so that others will be good to you. One must be good for the sake of being good. It is always, just continue for one more paragraph, please. It is always the same lesson One must do as well as one can, the best one can, but without expecting the result, without doing it with a view to the result. Just this attitude to expect a reward for a good action, to become good because one thinks that this will make life easier, takes away all value from the good action. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We had covered this last week. This was just to go through it, and now we'll take up the next passage, the only way out. So I think we can see if we want to stop in between, or we can read the full one and then take it up in pieces. So if anybody is willing, they can please read this for us, the only way out.
Okay, I'll read that.
Yeah, just a moment before we take up the new this passage. So I just wanted to ask, for the sake of clarity, the last few lines of the earlier paragraph. Since the last we ended, we were asking what is disinterestedness. So I want a couple of us to share their take on disinterestedness. That what do we mean by disinterested? For example, if my love has to be disinterested, if my relationships have to be disinterested, right now, what is our understanding of being disinterested? What do we understand by that? So if some of us can share it, that would be really nice. Why I am asking this, because last time there was a kind of a confusion that, when I am not interested, I become dull and uninterested. So to see that what is the this fine line separating disinterest and uninterest, what is the difference? So yeah, if anyone has sharings on this, your clarity, your reflection on what do you mean by disinterestedness and how are you practicing it, that will take us further. So we'll go only after that, otherwise not allowed to go to the next paragraph. Yeah, test, unit test. This is our unit test. So this word is very important, and it comes again and again in prayers and meditations also, for those of us who have gone through. So let us share. And again, we may have degrees of understandings. Each understanding is as good as another, but it is good to have clarity, because that is when only when we will be able to actually implement and practice in our life. अगर मुझे पता ही नहीं है disinterestedness है क्या, then we may actually become uninterested and say, oh, mother said that, oh, to become disinterested, right? So let us talk about it. Just this much.
I will share my understanding and I will request corrections. So, difference between no interest and disinterestedness, according to me, is no interest is not even trying, um, like not even going there wherever it is. Disinterestedness is being able to do it without that clinging, like we being able to appreciate it. Like I like cars, for example. So I can appreciate a nice Ferrari, say, wow, such a good Ferrari. Then I can also not cling to that thing. I can just say, oh, it's a good car, and I can move on. So I feel that is disinterestedness.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Any more thoughts?
Yeah. In that movie, Lord of Rings, if you have seen it, say Golem, the one who kept saying, my precious, is for the ring, is kind of the opposite of disinterestedness. And maybe Sam and Frodo, the main characters, who just had to carry the ring so that it can be destroyed, so that the evil can end. They are doing each and everything. They are suffering. They are going through immense, unbelievable, tragic, situations that it's not possible if we think that how will one cross that. But because something has to be done, it has to be done. So this thing that mujhe kya milega, what's in it for me. So I think if we can, I don't know, step back a bit from that, or give it up, or just see that there is something in me which is always, always, always kind of a little bit. If it's too much, it's visible. But we have this little itch, little desire, little, I don't know, inherent लगता है kind of this sticky thing that we talk about, that what about me? What about me? So I think that if one can step back from, for me, that would be disinterestedness, and that you have shared, that from Padumanji, that ud asinta, right? Like, as in I'm placed above, like not above as in very high, but this is the thing, and I'm here. I'm doing it because it needs to be done. And it's not that I'm getting something. And while I was sharing it, I think even if we look at, say, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, like we call them avatars. And yet, most of our avatars, the ones that we know about, the ones that are popular, Ram, Krishna, and all, they've always done miracles. There was something about them that you were fascinated about. There was this whole melodrama around things, larger than life things. And when they say that we are not here for that, right? We are here for something else, to bring down the consciousness. Hard. So even after so many years, how many of lives have been touched? How many, I don't know, call them an avatars or know what they have done? So sacrificing the whole life, today somebody had shared about Mrinadini Devi and how Sri Aurobindo had told her that, I've not come here for this, I've come for a separate purpose. I was born for that. Let's sacrifice the whole life, all these desires, all this, because I have to take the race forward. So their yoga, their coming, their whole life would be a perfect example of disinterestedness in, I don't know how to complete that sentence. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Nandini, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, when you asked how are you practicing disinterestedness in your own way, I just wanted to share it that that in relationships, especially, we have, at least I have this tendency of making people dependent on you, and you feel very happy if somebody is dependent, and we kind of glamorize it as I love you, and whether it's parents, children, or partner. And it's so normal. It looks very normal that if somebody says, I will die for you, without you, I'll not be. And we say, wow, that's the epitome of love. But like when you realize, as you said, first of all, it's so hard to realize what love is till the time we are stuck in the ego consciousness. But with this disinterestedness, something that I've tried to practice, which is of course quite challenging, is that making myself and people I love independent, knowing that we are interdependent anyways in so many ways. But the true foundation of relationships can only be if we are independent and not clinging to one another. And in that sense, disinterestedness has started to play a role, that like when ego is crying, when wants attention, wants other person to just give me all the compliments, and the other person is not doing, I tell myself that that's a victory for him, and a victory for my, and a loss for my ego. And it's making him independent, so I'm disinterested to that craving. Sometimes I lose and I want it, and I just feel really bad. But there are moments when I can actually catch it very early and can tell myself that no, this is, I have to be disinterested to this tendency of wanting attention, of wanting that compliment of khana is wonderful, or something like that, small things. So I think that's something like I've started to practice. That's how can I be disinterested to the ego consciousness of the other person and myself, and more interested in the soul, which is in, so yeah, that. And also with that also comes one thing I've realized is that when you start become disinterested, you also, this dosh drishti that we have, it's quite used, that we always see faults. So easy to see faults. I think even in passive we were reading, mother was saying that it's very easy, like we can see faults in everything. But when you start becoming disinterested, you also start becoming disinterested toward other people's faults. You're not very interested in discussing it with 10 people, or keep thinking about it for 5 days that this happened and look how that person is. It's just more grounded. So it's just this thing. Yeah.
Dhanyavad. Anyone else? Okay. Yes, Chetna?
Since it is a unit
Yes.
test, so I think I must do something. The first is the story last time which I told that I love water, so water allows me to want to walk over it. So here in this particular paragraph, what I could see that all are some positive quality or something, love of goodness and justice and purity and all this positive, but disinterested is a little negative sense, negative word or whatever. So actually, we are not going into the meaning of the word. This thing. There must be some reason that I'm not interested in the particular thing. But I am not here to change the disinterest to interest. But let it be as it is. So I have to accept it and I have to move forward. Because I have to love. My love should be not differentiating sort of thing. That if somebody is good, I love him. If somebody is bad, so I'll not love him. I'll hate him. So this is not actually, the discernment should not come to me actually. That is also a type of ego. So here we have to accept as it is. If something I have seen that I have to do, I have decided. So the question of this disinterest may not come. Even it comes, so I should take it as it is, but I have to move ahead. The path may be difficult. Somebody has told me that, see, or my Guruji has said that if you have to move in this way, you have to do it. But I saw that it is very difficult. So I am not very interested because I have not been doing this. So I will not go into this, that why it is disinteresting me or something and all this and all this. I will walk over it. I will have the same type of mindset to move forward, not to get into the positiveness or negativity of it. That was the thought which was coming to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, Chetna, you wanted to speak also?
Yes. Can you hear me first of all? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So for me, disinterestedness, when I hear the word, I am reminded of that scene of Arjun in the battlefield and what Krishna tells him, that you do your dharma and don't worry about the result. That is what defines disinterested for me. So how I interpret it is that, follow it in my life, is that enjoy the process and not worry about the result, not cling to the result. So when I'm doing the process, doing an activity to basically follow that thing, do what you love and love what you do. So like when I'm doing an activity, to pour all the consciousness, love, energy, focus into it, and to pour it in it, and to basically just keep the focus on the process and not to get too much, not to think too much about the result and not to get too attached to it. And I also feel that that is the only way that I can work. Like for me, the moment I think about the result, I get a lot of fear and anxiety and almost like a panic attack kind of situation. And that happens to me since childhood. And in fact, it was only this lesson that made me, start doing work. Because a lot of times when I think about the result, I get this fear, anxiety, and panic. And then I just move away from the action itself. So, so in previous times, whenever I have been able to do it, it's only this lesson that has helped me do the activity. Uh, but off late, like last couple of years, I have felt that that fear and anxiety has come back again. And it is this again, this attachment to the result, and this attachment to the, what happens is, I attachment to the result is attachment to the perfection. Like I feel that that end result is a reflection of me, so it has to be perfect. Like there is, and with that with that fear and anxiety, I'm not able to do it to me. And this is kind of a, like like there was a phase in my life when I was flowing comparatively to what I'm now. I was flowing, and that time my entire focus was on the process. For example, when I began my career, I was much older than most of my colleagues, and I was not earning as much as my younger siblings and stuff like that. Uh, but it was only this one principle that helped me keep focus and keep going. And then few years ago, I started comparing myself. Like I started comparing the result that, oh, this person has got so much, and then I have been working for so hard for so many years and got anything, or maybe I've not got that. And I felt frustrated, and I felt like shortchanged by life. And my focus kind of shifted to the result. And then slowly it also became fear, uh, the fear of failure, of that beginning again. Like for example, I've achieved this in my past. Now what I have to do has to be better than that. It has to match up to that, uh, you know status, at least in my professional thing, if I go, uh, all those things, even if I don't like really admit it, it's somewhere there in the back. Uh, Even with the small product that I have to do, it's always, I mean, there is this, what I'm realizing is there is this attachment to result, which I often see as attachment to perfection. And it's because of attachment to like myself and to my ego, because I feel that, oh, it represents me, so it has to be perfect. Instead of what used to happen earlier when I began my work, there was this kind of a beginner's consciousness where I was just a learner, and I was somehow able to connect to what was happening. Like if I'm listening to something, I could connect to the essence of that, like listening in the heart. And I could connect to what I was listening, or if something I was meeting, somebody I was meeting, that essence. And that really helped me in my work. But nowadays, I feel like a barrier around my heart. Like that space is not opening. And that's why no matter how much hard I'm trying outwardly from the mind, and like हाथ पाँव मार रही हूँ, मगर वो inward जो एक shift of heart space होता है, especially opening of the heart, that I'm not feeling yet.
धन्यवाद। सावित्री, हमको सावित्री पढ़नी चाहिए। ये जो सारे हमारे कंफ्यूज्ड पार्ट्स ऑफ बीइंग है ना, इनका बहुत अच्छा डिस्क्रिप्शन है सावित्री में। So when we are reading those lines which describes our own pell-mell states and affairs, we actually get a lot of clarity कि इसका काम ही यही है, ये ऐसी ही रहेगी। यहाँ पे रेजोल्यूशन मिलने नहीं वाला जहाँ हम ढूंढ रहे हैं. तो सावित्री पढ़नी चाहिए. आई एम श्योर ऑल ऑफ अस आर टू वट एवर एक्सटेंट रीडिंग. कोई भी पेज खोल के 1-2 पेजेस, स्पेशली द पार्ट ऑफ योगा ऑफ अशुपति, योगा ऑफ सावित्री. वहाँ पे जो द फेजेस वन गोज थ्रू वाइल वी ट्राई टू गो डीपर, एंड यू वर टॉकिंग ऑफ ओपनिंग ऑफ द हार्ट, है ना. तो द फेजेस वी ऑल हैव टू गो थ्रू, द स्टेजेस वी ऑल हैव टू गो थ्रू, दे आर डिस्क्राइब्ड वेरी क्लियरली. हम क्या होता है, क्योंकि हमको वो क्लैरिटी नहीं होती, तो वी गेट स्टक इन दीज स्टेजेस. When we read Savitri, it appears as, oh my God, these are just steps of this infinite, kind of ladder. ठक 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 ठक, you have to go on and on and on. कहीं रुकना नहीं है बैठ के. और हम एक ही लैडर पे अगर पूरा लाइफ टाइम लगा देंगे तो आगे का काम कब करेंगे, है ना. एक ही स्टेप पे अगर हम अटके रह गए और उसी को सच मान लिया. So perfection is not one point. Perfection is an ever moving forward point. That's why mother used the word, you were talking of perfection. Mother used the word that, okay, if you don't resonate the word with the word divine, you can use the word perfection. Because you can always be more and more and more and more and more better, 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 better. But there is no end to that betterness. And that is what divine is also. That there is no end that, oh, mujhe mil gaya, done, mera ho gaya. You can further, further. There is no end to that. So whenever we are tightly clinging to my idea of perfection, that's what let us not do the work rightly, because मुझे लग रहा है कि मेरे हिसाब से नहीं हुआ. वही जो आप खुद ही बता रहे थे, that the ego consciousness comes in between, and that doesn't let us actually do whatever little we can sincerely do. So to be always open for improvisations, and to try to do best and with interest in the sense, not कि मुझे क्या मिलेगा, all of you were already sharing, knowing that इससे कुछ ऐड नहीं होने वाला आपके ट्रू कॉन्शियसनेस में. नथिंग कैन बी एडेड. वो जो श्लोक है, ओम पूर्णमिदम वाला जो श्लोक है, वो हम पूरे ही हैं. तो हमको क्या, बिकॉज ऑफ अवर डिजायरिंग सोल, दिस क्लिंगी पार्ट दैट मोस्ट ऑफ यू वर रेफरिंग टू, दैट मेक्स दैट इल्यूजन पॉसिबल, दैट अगर मुझे वो पोजीशन मिल गई, अगर मुझे वो रिलेशनशिप मिल गई, अगर वो मुझे वहां से स्माइल मिल गई, अगर वो मुझे प्रॉपर्टी मिल गई, वेल्थ मिल गई, अप्रिसिएशन मिल गई, then as if something can be added on to me. That is our interest. So our ignorance propels us to be always in this kind of interest, that we are always wanting कि इससे मुझे क्या मिलेगा. While if we are trying to again and again be in touch with our true consciousness, we know that nothing can be added on to us. Nothing can be subtracted from us. We are whole. Failure हमको नीचा नहीं कर सकता, हमारे में से कुछ कम नहीं कर सकता. Failure is also an experience, and success is also an experience. It is not adding anything to me. Neither failure nor success. This is how we can actually transcend duality, when we get clarity here, that neither failure is degrading me. It is an experience. Neither is success upgrading me. It is an experience. Neither is pleasure degrading me or upgrading me. Neither is pain taking away or giving me anything. These are just experiences. Pleasure is an experience, pain is an experience. So when we have clarity here, then we don't crave. वो जो हम clinginess की बात कर रहे थे, then we don't crave. Exactly, equanimity. So then we step back into this equanimous state of our consciousness. That is what is soul consciousness. When you are not faking that equanimity, you truly feel that no, nothing can be added. So then it is easy to let go also. Letting go of a relationship, letting go of your style of trying to fix a person in your style, you can let go. Letting go of your type of life or money or property or relationship or work, anything. It is easy then to let go, because now you know that वहां से कुछ आ नहीं सकता मेरे पास. With the word that you were sharing, उद आसीन, पता लग गया कि अब वहां से कुछ आ नहीं सकता. This is the supreme disinterest. Of course, there must be further stages, not saying that ultimate हो गया, but Aurobindo talks about love in this manner, that actually pure love, since some of us were talking of love, pure love is always disinterested. It is our impure love which always wants something from the other which is interested. अच्छा मिल लिया ठीक है, नहीं मिला ठीक है ना? अगर दूसरे बंदे ने स्माइल पास कर ली ठीक है, दूसरे बंदे ने नहीं स्माइल पास करी, आज गुस्सा है, कोई बात नहीं, ठीक हो जाएगा. So that is allowing the other person to blossom into a full individuality, कि कुछ चाहिए नहीं वहां से. This is the pure kind of love which Aurobindo talks of, which I think we all of us must go through. Otherwise, what's the point of being human? Since we keep talking of love, 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 ये भी नहीं पता प्यार होता क्या है ना? So it's all a confusion and pell-mell. So everybody passes in the unit test. Thank you, thank you. I was just pulling legs. So yes.
You're a very gracious teacher.
Good one. So yes, I think that's it from my end. I have to attend to something here. So maybe we can go further, all of you, and take up the next passage. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So yesterday when we were doing the book study of the heroic heart, we always do this opening aspiration which has a line that may we be free from hunger and discord. Hunger being, the things that we feel we need to complete ourselves, the graspings, the greeds, the desires. So while Monica was sharing, it struck me that maybe be free from hunger and discord also can fall under disinterestedness, because there's no grasping and there is no discord. When does discord happen? When there is usually something that I want and too much of me is at stake. Yeah, very nice to see that again and again coming up. Yeah, before we move to the next passage, if there's any comment, reflection, question, Sarda ji, you have not shared anything. I know you had joined late. We were discussing this interested that if
I
you want
joined
to
late.
say.
I couldn't get it. Yeah.
Yeah. We were just talking about disinterestedness, because did you come last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't there. So, in last week's passage, be good for the sake of good. There was this thing that you must be good for the love of goodness. You must be just for the love of justice. You must be pure for the love of purity. And you must be disinterested for the love of disinterestedness. Then you are sure to advance on the way. So this disinterestedness, Monica had said there was some, minor confusion about that we were discussing. But this is so beautiful. Yeah. Because if we are really honest with ourselves, we are often not good for the love of goodness. We feel that I should be good because it's the morality, it's the ethics, because I have an image to confine to. If there are people not there, I would do things certain way. But if there are other people around, I sit in a certain way, talk in a certain way. We change. You must be just for the love of justice. So no other agendas, nothing that I am getting. It's just I would love for justice to prevail. I would love for goodness to prevail. I want this world to be good, to be just. But what am I doing? Right? Like, am I the goodness that the world needs? Am I the justice that the world needs today? You must be pure for the love of purity. And not for a show off, not for any agendas. You must be disinterested for the love of disinterestedness. Because it doesn't interest you now. And again, more of a happening than a doing, but of course we have to do things that we can. Then you are sure to advance on the way. So having read that, if you have any reflections, we can take that. Otherwise, we'll move forward.
So is it called pretending, Taru, in other way? Can it be called as pretending?
I pretending as in disinterestedness. What are you asking? Disinterestedness?
Oh, see, if I'm doing something.
Mm.
So in front of somebody, I want to do it in different way. So to attract them or, to be in their good books. So that time I'm pretending, right?
Yeah.
So this is I feel this is some way connected to pretending also.
Yeah, and I'm pretending all the time, right? To be a certain way, to look a certain way. All are, I don't know if you look at the cosmetics and industry, right? Like I don't know, wherever you go these days, like you change countries, you go from villages to villages. The one shop that I feel has really prospered are the beauty parlors. And it's shocking. It's shocking. It's like, okay, say in Canada, in the middle of nowhere, there's a complex which hardly has anything, but it has 3 beauty parlors, 3 cosmetic. I don't know, it's not a problem, but it just shows that what are we interested in? What is a makeup, right? You're trying to make up for something which you feel is missing, if we look at the root of the word. So we are all
Even
trying to
villages
be,
have lots of.
yeah, lots and
Yeah.
lots and lots and lots.
So mostly people live for others. People want others to see them, maybe.
Yeah, we can't say they live for others because then we live a different way, but we live for how the others perceive us, right?
Yeah. True.
So we are not really living then, right? We are just pretending to be a certain way. And we all do that because we have our own greed, we have our own, approvals, and I don't know, whatever we need, the roles that we have to confine to. But once we have done that enough, once we cannot tolerate that, then the real thing happens, right? Like, why do you want to be good? Because I want goodness. Sri Aurobindo, he says that if there is even a tiny bit of, what's in it for me? There's a beautiful way he says it. I'm just paraphrasing that if there is something that is asking, but mujhe kya milega? Minimum, matlab, maybe you're moving mountains and there is this thing that, okay, I'll get this needle from that thing, then this will not lead you towards purity. Because there was a little bit of me involved, that mujhe, the little me. So better not to do it. And it's a very difficult thing to catch before, when we are not aware of it. ऐसा लगता है कि अरे सब कुछ अच्छा ही तो कर रहे हैं. But जब वो एक बार दिखना शुरू हो जाता है, that minutest even, if it's not that loud, you see how it's in everything and how we are selling ourselves short. And in the name of, I don't know, being good, doing good, how much we are sitting on, this is what I am getting, this is what I'll get, a image, a name, a favor, a whatever. Yeah, I think I'm just beating a dead horse now. Yeah. So, yes, Nandini.
No, just talking about disinterestedness, I was reminded of a lecture by Ramdas. I think I even shared this thing about his quote on how one should cultivate this practice of living in uncertainty. That if you have to make a decision, there is always this impulse of making the right decision. That okay, I have to make a decision, it should be right. But Ramdas talks about being in a state of not making any decision, just having that, just staying there, just like a labor, holding it, like a labor pain that you have holded. And I thought it have also related to disinterestedness, that your being is not very interested in making any of the one decision, because you have no preference. Of course, you'll make choices in life, but cultivating that, that part of you that is okay being in uncertainty, because you're not very interested in knowing what's next, because we have all this, like especially me, what's next and what is going to happen, because we're so afraid of uncertainty, we cannot really embrace it. And we always have this, have to make the right and a good decision. So I just reminded of it, and since we were talking about disinterestedness, and how we can see disinterestedness from that angle, that going beyond preferences, that you have no preference now, whatever comes. Like, for example, I say, okay, whatever comes, I will try to see it as mother's gift. So it's hard. It's not easy, because when things don't happen how my way, there is always a crying self that's never happy, that's really painful, a lot of pain. But yeah, that's the practice, isn't it? To be with the pain and kind of keep invoking grace in that sense. And how we, through this interestedness, just that. Maybe it was just off track.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nandini.
You know, so many, like it's a habit. It's a habit for so many years that I'll do something out of as a transaction, knowingly or unknowingly. It was always a transaction. And what happened is, um, now that this shift is happening, I reread the paragraph one more time, because that was sort of answering these questions I was having. That now that I am finding myself in places where I might not even get an acknowledgement, or I might even be pointed at for, I might be even confronted, although I've done the right thing. And now I'm asking, okay, so what's the purpose? Like, I'll just, to put it simply, for me, somehow I was always looking for acknowledgement in all directions: my parents, my friends, my everyone. And now that I know that acknowledgement is not what it is, I have to understand that, do I really love this? Am I doing it really for the love of doing it, or I'm doing it for because I'm getting something out of it? Am I working out for because I like working out, or am I working out because I'm getting something, or I'm getting attention? So that I am right now, not right now, but I'm standing in a state where I'm thinking, okay, so do I have anything that I really like? Or was I just living under this assumption that I like this, but actually I don't like this? Like I'm still, it's a journey I'm walking through. But again, it's very interesting. I was talking to my mother this afternoon, and I told her that, Ma, if I go out today, let's say, for example, if I go out today and I see 10 beggars, I donate 1,000 rupees for each beggar. Then I see old people not able to cross, I help them out. Then I see someone else, I help them out. And I help, let's say, 100 people today. And I come home, and in the evening, I'm joining the session. And in the session, let's say, somebody tells me that, Jagan, you are the most selfish person, and you have done nothing other than just lamenting about your life and not doing nothing. You did nothing. Then I told my mom, what do you think will be my reaction? And I was very sincere, and I said, Ma, honestly, I want to transcend from confronting this person, ki, what do you know what I've done? So much I've done, and you're telling me all this. I want to transcend from that to just keeping silent and just smiling. Because right now, whatever, like, even I'm in a state where I do X number of things, and somebody confronts, that's a different story. Somebody even doesn't acknowledge, I'm thinking, okay, why am I not getting it? Like, it's a transaction. Everything is a transaction. And now, without a transaction, I'm saying, okay, what are the things I can do without a transaction? And I'm finding a few, but I hope to find many more. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Now, even if, I don't know, we are giving money to 10, 100,000 people, and if somebody says you're being selfish, we still would find we are being selfish at so many other places, right? So we can just also use that and say, yes, yes, there is more cleaning to be done, more cleaning to be done. And that is why I think a lot of times we are reminded that keep remembering why you are doing something. What is the main reason for us to operate in the way we are operating? So that's just reminding me, in Savitri, there's this line that I think Narad had told, I don't know, Savitri or her mom, I apologize, but it was like, remember why thou came, right? If I have that thing in my background again and again and again when I am kind of making decisions or doing anything, so that center we keep losing. We start something with the purest intention, and then we see we are getting this, and then I get hooked on to that. Okay, I'm doing it because I'm getting this. But if I keep reminding myself or asking myself or shaking myself, okay, why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? I keep course correcting because there is something in me which keeps going off course. It keeps drifting here and there, here and there. कि अच्छा पकड़ लिया, उसको पकड़ लिया, इसको पकड़ लिया, उसको पकड़ लिया. तो that reminder, that question, I think is really important to keep us on the path for the right reasons. Yeah.
And to add a couple more things. Also, one thing to practice, at least for me, is to not have just one directional opinion. Because like you just said, if somebody confronts me, then just having this one directional opinion, I just, what do you know, or just keeping silent, I can also have multiple dimensions of my opinion, saying, okay, maybe he is right, maybe she is right, maybe there is, or maybe not, maybe he is right. I am selfish. I can also have that mindedness. That is one thing, and I'll talk about more about this. But I think you told me that it is really the ego. It's not the helping nature. It's the ego that's doing all this. That as long as I'm finding it that okay, because I ask myself, would you do it if they tell you that I'll give you a tight slap if you do it? And then I'm stuck for a second. Okay, maybe I'll not do it. So that is my ego. Then my ego is saying that okay, do it because you will get appreciation from them. So that is what needs to be transcended, and yeah, exploring. Thank you.
In this example, if somebody says you're selfish and you have just donated to 1,000 people something, so the fact in me, the person in me, the voice in me, which stands up and says, but I have right now just donated so much amount to 1,000 people, that in itself is very reflective that who in me would say that, right? Like, and why would I say that that was me not being selfish? Because if I look at myself, I don't see I do anything that I don't mostly get anything out of. There's always a little bit of something, and I'm doing it for my own happiness. I see that. So then that equation is not there, right? There's something in me which perceives this as selfishness, selflessness, and it's maybe 99% of the times it's not. Yeah.
You know, when Jagan was saying that that person said that you're selfish and I have to be reflective whether I was right and wrong. In my experience, especially if you're on this path or an aspirant of this path, for me, everything that has come as a shock to me or something that somebody said is 100% correct. Either I acknowledge it or not acknowledge it. Of course, mother says that you go inside and check if it's right. If it's right, take it as a pearl of wisdom. It's not ignore. For me, over the time, I've realized it, and I just, to the extent that one can actually go, like I think I shared it with one of my friends, that changed my opinion, because to me, if somebody was asked who is the most altruistic and open-minded person I know, I would say she's the one. I know. And just I was in the garden with her. She's a very good gardener as well. And I asked her, she's a practitioner of Buddhism from a very long time, and I asked her, tell me, what is it that your practice has taught me? She laughed, and I thought she'd tell me some verse, Buddhist verse, something big. She said, what change, little change I have seen in myself from the practice, and she was very happy about it, is that earlier when I used to, when I used to cut the grass, or, I used to mind my plants, there were a lot of small insects and snails or small bugs, and I would not even notice them. And along with all the rubbish, I used to throw it in the bin. But now the only thing that my practice has taught me, that I acknowledge that they are the Buddha too. And I make sure that I don't throw them with the grass, but I take them out and put it in the garden. And I was looking at her gaping. I said, and said, that's it. She said, that's it. For 20 years of practice. And that person one day told me, Nandini, I've realized that I'm very greedy. And I was taken aback. And like, she told me that her husband told her in one of the heated arguments, you're a very greedy woman. And I told her that it can't be true. You can't be greedy, at least. And I know her from close quarters. And she told me that, yeah, I thought the same, that, I can be picky, but I don't think so. I'm greedy. I live very simply. I am like learning from my practice. I try to be as simple as I can. How can I be greedy? But one day when I meditated, I really went deep inside, and I could actually see that I'm very greedy, because I have so much expectations from my partner to be in a certain way. And I think I'm not able to let go of that. So in that sense, I'm very greedy. Now, I would not acknowledge greed in that sense, what she said, right? Greed, but she could see it, that was a mirror reflection from a partner. So when Jagan was saying, that came to me, that for me, it's always like that whenever somebody says to you, it's very true for me, because if I actually go sit down with myself, I will find that in me, in small or big, this thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Nandini. I remember listening to this before, and it was quite powerful.
Also, I don't know why I have so many things to add today, but you know, remember, ma'am, the example of Sibi Chakravarti? I was saying about how this Indra comes and asks, as in like an eagle, and he's trying to save a dove. And Sibi Chakravarti offers his flesh because the bird wouldn't take anything else in return, to say to not eat that bird. And he kind of cuts his, I think he's cut his thigh, and then he literally, like, nothing would balance, like nothing would offset that bird's weight, and then he just stands on the scale, and then it kind of offsets. And along with that, today my mother, um, my she was telling me the story of Shankaracharya, how he was going to houses asking for alms, and he goes to this lady's house, and he asks, Bhavati Bhikshandehi, and he basically she says that no, she doesn't listen. Normally the rule is that three times, once they call three times, they'll go. If they don't get the arm, they'll move on to the next house. So the second time he says Bhavati Bhikshandehi, and then she comes out of the house and she has one gooseberry. She tells him that, we did not find anything in the forest today to eat. All we have is this one gooseberry. And so I will just offer it to you. And in her mind, she was thinking that, okay, this is all we had, and my husband and I are planning to make something out of this one gooseberry. But now, I have to give, so I have to give. Um, so he notices everything, Shankaracharya, and he calls for Lakshmi right away. And Lakshmi comes, and Lakshmi drops so many golden gooseberries in her thing sari when she puts it like this. And anyway, so the point is that she offered when she had nothing else, and that was the only thing to offer. And here, I am offering because I have something. Would I also offer if I don't have something? Is where I question myself. I have 1,000 rupees in my pocket. I'm offering just, let's say, 1 paisa. But will I offer that 1 paisa if that is all I had? So, like so many things to transcend, not just one is ego, one is the transactional nature, another is, yeah, just wanted to share. And, it's such a beautiful story. I spent 1 hour listening, and she's just so damn cool. Yeah. Thank you.
So it's 8 o'clock, and we would not be taking up the new passage today. So before we end, if some, there's some people who haven't spoken, if they have anything to add, Jayashree, Snehi, Arpit, they can, if they want to unmute and share something, please do. Otherwise, I think this is enough. And what Jagan said, that also again is a different thing, but very important, that when I give, I always am one thinking, what do I have? How much can I give? How much can I retain? There's never giving as such. And then there's this thing that give with empty hands, even if you have nothing, still give. And give when till you become empty. But a giving is very reasonable, and still I want so much. So again, a very beautiful place to reflect for our own selves, so that we can know the truth of how my mind works, how the society influences, how I'm always grasping. And yeah, so very good to have that conversation, to open that window that we can see out of, because till we even acknowledge that, we feel, oh, we are holier than thou. So good to know where we stand, so that we can walk towards becoming holier than thou. Thank you, Snehi. Thank you for joining. So, just to recap, we again covered the same passage we had done last week. Beautiful one. Be good for the sake of being good. A beautiful reflection, a beautiful pointer that we can use for ourselves in everything, asking ourselves why we are doing it, what is my center of operation, so that we can move more towards purity and disinterestedness, more towards simplicity. Yeah. So just taking some moments from our very important scheduled, well-planned day to express immense gratitude for these windows that we get through which Mother, Aurobindo, so many masters and mystics have tried to show us the right way to live, to show us the truth of how I live and the truth of how I can live if I want to actually, give justice to this precious human birth, to transcend so many things, to progress towards so much more that I can be, so that I can stop being my wall around my own self. So aspiring and praying for these insights to become me, so that these things do not remain at the level of just knowledge and knowings. May it become me so that I can change, so that I can progress. So offering any merit from this or any other things that I have done with all sentient beings, may our hearts be full of love, compassion, joy, giving, disinterestedness, so that I can make the world a better place by being better myself. So being good for the sake of being good, may I be shown more and more light. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tarun.
Thank you.